you guys in?
2.
Week 2 of classes.
Brand new.
All right. So hopefully everybody has gone through their classes, their syllabus. You've added people. You've, changed your classes. You got all your schedule settled in. But happy that you guys were able to join us. Happy to see so many people jump in. We're gonna give everybody like maybe a couple more minutes. Maybe we'll start at like 12:03 because I know it takes a minute to log in, to get your video going, to get your sound going. But by now, I think we're all pros because we've been in this like Zoom live for a minute. For a minute. But happy Wednesday, everybody.
It's old guys still screw it up on occasion.
I think we all do. It never fails to start talking and it's like, we can't hear you, you're on mute.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah, definitely going to have moments of that with the wrangling and the screen share and then trying to see everyone and then talking.
Yes.
One never knows. Once you pass 40, all bets are off.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
I was going to say 50, but I wanted people to think I'm not past 50 yet.
Not a day over 35 at.
31 is my emotional set point, I've said.
Okay.
Said that.
31 is.
I'm 31 on the inside, everyone.
All right. So 12:03, I'm sure people are gonna trickle in as we as we get going, but just want to make sure that we're conscious of time. We're gonna be here for the next 57 minutes or so chatting about entrepreneurship and so many more things. But first and foremost, I just want to welcome everybody. Welcome back to your spring semester. We know this is week 2 for many of you. I'm sure you guys are just kind of getting settled into your classes and all the work that you have to do. And yeah, we wanted to kick off the semester with some really great content for you guys. Hopefully you guys were able to join us last semester, but we've been doing these entrepreneurship workshops. This is our second year that we're bringing these series of workshops to you at Pasadena City College to kind of just get you some ideas, right, about what's out in the world, what are other topics that you can be learning about. We're bringing you some of the most, up-to-date content and speakers, hopefully building out your network. So for those of you that know me or don't know me, my name is Elaine Rodriguez, and I am one of the Small Business Development Center advisors at Pasadena City College. But I'm also a really, really proud PCC alumni. Like I graduated many, many months ago, but I was there for about 4 years before I transferred out into Cal State LA. And essentially, we've been really trying to bring back to PCC kind of all the things that and topics that we wish we would have seen, when I was there. So you guys always hear us, as Adam said, you hear us older folks talking about, man, like I wish I would have had this when I was at our college and whatnot. But really, that is what it came about, right? I didn't really learn about technology. I didn't really learn about entrepreneurship or innovation until many, many years after graduation. And I thought, man, if I had learned even, 1 or 2 things of what I know now when I was at PCC, I don't know, maybe my trajectory would have been different. Maybe I would have picked a different major. Maybe I would have gone to a different school. I don't know, right? But really what we're trying to do with these entrepreneurship series is bring you options and ideas and introduce you to people that maybe you never thought you'd meet, right? Or build out your network, right? We talk about building connections and meeting humans that are going to help you develop as you grow into your career, as you start thinking about what do you want to do. I know there's folks that this is maybe their second career, so you're really thinking about what happens next, right? This is really like a space where we can explore different content and most up-to-date topics. So we've covered things like cryptocurrency, we've done a little bit of AI, we've done influencer marketing, right? Like if you're thinking about like, how do I become an influencer and actually like make a career, make money out of that. We also tackle a little bit of like financial literacy and some entrepreneurship basics so that you guys can really start to think about how can you use all of these topics in your everyday life. And I also just want to encourage you all to think about these series as skill sets, right? You're just going to be learning skills that you can utilize both, if you're thinking about starting your own business, that's great. That's what we're here to do. And I'll talk a little bit about the SVDC in a minute. Or if you're just thinking about getting a job and how can you become, just a really valuable, team member within a company that you go work for. Those are all the things that, employers are looking for. They're the things that make you stand out and also make you really valuable, right? Where you can actually rise within a company you're working for and or find a better job, right? Whatever your trajectory is, we're here to kind of support you. So a little bit about the SVDC, and of course, we're doing this through the Small Business Development Center. If you guys don't know, now you know because I'm about to tell you. There is a Small Business Development Center on campus. It's actually on the Foothill campus, so not on the main campus. But the Small Business Development Center focuses on helping businesses start, grow, accelerate, right? Whether you have an idea or you already have started a business, or maybe your parents have a business or your uncle has a business, you can actually contact them and you can get access to trainings like this one today and like many others on all kinds of business fundamentals. And you can get one-on-one business advising, right? You can actually talk to an expert. You can talk to an entrepreneur that has been doing, business for many years, and they can walk you through the ins and outs of having a business. So I really want to encourage you all to take a look at the website if you guys haven't. Again, if you're thinking about starting a business, it's a really, really great resource because it is no cost to you, which means it's free, right? It's free to you. And everybody has access to it, right? So whether it's for you, for your uncle, for your, you have a sibling or somebody that has a business, or you have an entrepreneur friend, this is a really great resource that you should be taking advantage of. It's in your backyard, it's in your college. Again, I think the SVDC was already at my college at PCC when I was there, and I didn't even know they were on the Foothill campus, right? So we're really trying to spread awareness and access to it. So anyway, I'm really excited to be here. Big shout out to the Freeman Career Center for also helping us promote and be really great partners. Thank you to Don at the SVDC for really spearheading a lot of this work. And with that, I'm going to introduce you all to Adam, who's going to be our speaker for today and share with us a little bit more about his experience, but also has a really great topic for today's training, right? So Adam is a good friend, first and foremost, but he has been one of our really great advisors, also an SVDC advisor now, so you can also see him on our SVDC website. He is a serial entrepreneur. I can't even tell you how many projects I've heard him talk about, and has dived into so many different things, right? But one of the biggest things that I have learned from Adam, and I really love about Adam's story and all the work that he does, is that he really helps entrepreneurs come up with a unique story about themselves, about their business, and really pushes them to be better storytellers, to do, whatever it is they want to do in their career, right? So I have seen him coach really, really early stage entrepreneurs all the way up to the more mature ones that are raising millions of dollars. I don't think we've ever actually done like a $1 million tally, Adam, to see how much money you help people raise. But that's actually one of the most impressive areas, right? Because it is so intimidating to go out and ask for money. So being able to see you coach people and entrepreneurs through that has been really amazing. But first and foremost, he's super excited and super passionate about helping the entrepreneurial ecosystem. For, again, those of us that had never dived into this ecosystem or have never learned about entrepreneurship in this way. He was such a great kind of like North Star from when I first started, right? Because it was like, yeah, here are all the things that you can be doing, here are all the things that you can think about. And it's always up for helping with ideas, crazy ideas, unreasonable ideas. So crazy, it just might work. He's the man to do that. He's the man to help you with that. So I'm excited that he's here today. I'm excited that he's kicking off the first workshop for the spring semester. So without further ado, I'm gonna pass it over to Adam.
Woo! All right. What an intro. That's great. Everybody should have a hype man like Erod, I've got to say. So, I'm gonna see if this works first before I do anything, which is, as Elaine knows, and with apologies, I love to do everything that we do face to face, and now we're on Zoom, and that makes it harder. But what I would request, and I would challenge, or I would beg, is that if anyone who is willing would turn on their cameras and participate a little more than just sort of lurking on the training, that would be fun. And that way, what I like to do is not just tell you about stuff, but sometimes I get to know you a little, you get to know me a little. We can talk really specifically about your situation. It isn't required, not required, but it's requested and encouraged. And so you'll get more out of it if we have a two-way conversation, not the whole time, don't worry, but here and there, because the more you dip in, the more you will retain. And of course, the more that we'll know each other, and that can only be good. So while you're thinking about it, we can proceed. But I challenge you, as your first step in the journey toward the rest of your life of massive success, it may just start with clicking that tiny red button that says video on. You will map all the way back to this day and say, I remember my success journey started when I turned my camera on and talked to Adam. Okay. Again, hey, there we go. There we go. Robert, leading the way. Thank you, Robert. So I'm not scary. Don't worry. I'm totally on your side, team. So, but let's proceed. And as you gird up your courage to join, let's talk a little bit. And that's going to require me sharing my screen. So, well, let me put Robert on the spot, who's walking. Robert, if you would unmute, or give me 10 seconds of your story. Who are you? And how'd you end up here?
I'm a U.S. Army veteran.
Nice.
And I am returning to PCC for the first time in 10 years.
Wow, nice.
So, yeah, it's been a challenge for sure. And yeah, I definitely want to start my own business. So yeah, and luckily I got this email, I believe yesterday, about this meeting. So yeah, I decided to join up.
Love it. Joining up. That's a good phrase from the Army man. All right, cool. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's these kinds of little nuggets help me help you. So, the idea of this for everybody, the idea of this conversation is really a way to introduce what the whole concept of entrepreneurship, and then also another word that's a little strange and not everybody knows, called entrepreneurship, and how those things are maybe different from what you think, what we all think before we jump into it, and how they might be something that fits who you are in a way that you had really never considered. So the more I understand about each of you, and obviously, again, there's no requirement, but it's fun when I get to know, like, just as everybody just got to know Robert in 5 seconds, that was cool. Now we have a context with him and what he's up to and able to do in just 5 seconds. The more we can know what everybody does, the more that the context of what I'm going to say is going to help you. But so we're going to proceed and with just that little nugget. And now I'm going to share my screen, and we will find out whether I am able to. PowerPoint share. Wrong slide, go to the beginning. Great. Okay, so now I want to present. Slideshow. Where's my present? They don't give me a presenter. All right, well, we're just gonna have to do it without presenter. There we go. Is everybody seeing my screen? Yes. Okay, but can you see me also on the side? Look at this. Elaine, maybe I am 31.
You are 31.
See, I'm 31 on the inside, everyone. Don't forget. Okay, so we called this Roots and Wings. Roots and Wings, a little bit poetic. I don't know that that's where I want you to end up in this. But the reason was the idea of it doesn't really matter where you feel you're rooted, you know, where you come from, what your foundation is. You actually may or may not know that you have the wings to go and fly wherever you want to go. Okay. Sometimes we like to think we're rooted based on facts about ourselves, based about what people say about us, based about what our inner voice says about us. And we believe that puts roots in the ground where we are, literally where we are geographically or metaphorically, right? Like, oh, I'm just someone who blah, 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 blah. I'm not someone who blah, 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 blah. That's for other people. That's for people in that other country. That's for people who look a different way, sound a different way, speak a different language, do a different thing. I'm rooted where I am. And I'm here to tell you that you should remember you have wings and they make you travel. And that's metaphorical. Let's not, you know, go start looking in the mirror for your wings. There's a metaphorical wings. So really the crux of the whole thing is yay you and me. We all can do a ton more than we are programmed to believe we're able to do. And that really is sort of the first belief that if you can crack it, if you can even just test it, if you can even just taste it, you are on the road to entrepreneurship success. Because really a mirror of that belief that maybe I can do this thing that I didn't think I can do is all that you need to enter all different kinds of opportunities, all different kinds of processes that you and maybe other people don't think are possible. And that's really what so many stories of entrepreneurship are about, right? Monica, you get 30 points. 30 points, Monica. Thank you for joining. Would you be so kind as to give me 5 seconds about yourself? Oops. Are you there? Are we here?
I usually don't talk about myself.
Great. All the
I'm
better. So
learning.
let's talk. So let me just, before you go on, I love that you started by saying, I usually don't talk about myself. That's so human and so normal. I bet if I asked everybody on the call, except me, we would all say, I usually don't talk about myself, right? For some perfectly good reason. But so I applaud you for getting past that inner barrier, that root, and saying, I'm going to just give it a shot. So just 5 seconds on you. What would you say? Give me a couple nuggets about you.
I spend a lot of time with my family in my home. I'm returning to school after
Great.
and
Returning to school after what? Sorry.
after 5 years, I'm returning to school.
Hey.
I've been through a lot, so I have to be compassionate about that.
You have to become.
I've
Been through a lot, but I have to.
Oh, I have to be compassionate about that.
About the fact that you've been through a lot. Do you mean?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, I love it.
I don't know if this is also for starting a nonprofit.
Sure, of course, absolutely, 1000%. You betcha.
Sweet.
You have that in mind? What kind of nonprofit are you thinking about?
I think similar to what there already is, but maybe my story will help people who also distrusted the cops and the medical personnel schema.
Okay, so you have a life experience that had to do with overcoming some expectations of help from institutions like cops or medical establishment. You had a bad experience that you learned from? Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, terrible, and I'm sorry, but in the context of what we're talking about, that's brilliant. Then what an enormous opportunity. What a unique story you already have shared with me in 10 seconds that will definitely serve you in, especially if you're looking toward possibly starting a nonprofit. That's great. So thank you for sharing that. And you get 30 points just for turning on the mic, and then you get another 20 for being specific about what you're up to, because believe it or not, that literally is half the battle in entrepreneurship, is recognizing what your goal, your objective is in terms of there's something I want to achieve or a problem I want to solve, And now, literally, whatever that first step is, it might be literally turning on the microphone and telling someone that's what you're up to, or it might be Googling, is there another person doing it, or what is available in the space? So good for you. You're already an entrepreneur and you don't even know it. So let me talk about humans for a second. Thank you. That was amazing. And anybody else is also, of course, invited to share. So this is really, I want to keep it really big first, because it's important to understand that entrepreneurship, first of all, the word, does anybody actually know where that word comes from? We have any multilingual French speakers here? No? So entreprendre, as we all know from French class, means to undertake. It's just a verb that means literally to do. Entreprendre, to do. It means to undertake something. So if you've mystified the idea of entrepreneurship needing all kinds of skills and all kinds of knowledge, it might help sometimes to remember that it just means to undertake. And really, Monica, you just started undertaking something by saying what you are up to. And that's, to me, always been helpful to remember that entrepreneurship, literally, the difference between the entrepreneur and just the complainer is the one who did something about it. Entreprendre. So humans, let's talk about humans for a second. We are all human on this call, at least. And so we all are driven by several core motivators, which is more of one thing and less of another thing. These are, you can tweak the list, obviously. There's some people might argue. But in general, if you remember that human beings behave in order to get these things: more pleasure and less pain, more time, less aggravation, more money, less expense, more meaning, less aggravation, more connection, less loneliness, right? If you remember that, no matter what situation you are in, scenario you find yourself in, whether you're starting a business or you're starting a job in a new organizational structure, if you remember that the more that you can address these things in what you bring to the table, the more successful you will be, no matter what the metric of success is. So the trick is not to get sidetracked in, notice I don't have things here like more knowledge or things that we often associate with, more intelligence, more connections, meaning like more network, right? More fame. Some people are motivated by fame, but the things that really people want fame because they think it'll give them something else, which is more connection, more money, right? So it's important to realize that everything that we do is really going to end up coming back down to this. Does this resonate, I hope? Why is he talking about this? Why? Why do we care what the fundamental behaviors of human beings are? Why, Adam? Because if you're going to get into entrepreneurship, it's a thing, what it is and what it isn't usually is refreshingly, surprisingly simple and caveman stupid. And I'm here to tell you that because I've started, like Elaine was saying, 6 companies maybe, and I'd say 4 of them had pretty good outcomes. So that's not bad, but they were in different things. So let me give you an example. For me, I sold scripts to Hollywood in the 90s. Didn't know anything about that. I started a foreign film distribution company. Didn't know anything about that. I started a film aggregator that helped independent filmmakers put their movies directly on streaming services like Hulu and Netflix. But I started it in 2007 when nobody even knew what streaming was. A little early, but it still worked out. I helped start a thing that was a way people could raise money from anybody all over the world, which ended up being called crowdfunding, which was called Indiegogo, and that worked out. And I started a thing about commercial real estate. Literally didn't know anything about that. but it seemed like what I did at Indiegogo might work in commercial real estate, and so we tried on that. That didn't work so well. So, but the point is, none of those happened because of who I was. They all happened because of what I saw. Now let's talk about that for a second. So what is an entrepreneur? Let's start there. Most people have misconceptions about it. Now, if I had more people, I feel bad putting just you guys on the spot, but I'm going to do it. Robert, if you had to say what's an entrepreneur, would you throw out a couple of words or ideas like what you think an entrepreneur is and isn't?
I mean, I would say someone who runs their own business for sure.
Definitely. Okay. How about characteristics? An entrepreneur is someone who
Is kind of a self-starter.
Mhm.
Someone who's motivated.
Mhm. Love it.
Trying to
Those are
think what
good. No,
else.
those are great. Those are good.
Okay.
If Monica, are you still there? No, you left. Okay, you're kind of ducking out. Monica, do you have any idea, any thoughts on what an entrepreneur might be? Like the characteristics of the person who is an entrepreneur?
Characteristics.
Yeah, like what's an entrepreneur like? What does he have to be, she have to be in order to be an entrepreneur?
I guess
And
brave.
brave, love it. Okay, yeah, okay. So I'm going to tell you some of the things I've heard. I've heard entrepreneurs are workaholics. They're reckless. They have, they take risks that I don't like to take. They work more than I want to work. They're all extroverted and I'm not. They all have genius IQs and I'm just regular smart, right? Like these are all things I've heard when people who have perfectly good reason to get into business stop themselves because they think these are the things of these are some of the characteristics of an entrepreneur. Have you guys ever thought of any of these? Or does this not kind of cross your mind? So I find that this is kind of that thing when I was talking about roots versus wings. Like we all have these beliefs that are pumped up by the media, like, well, Elon Musk, he sleeps in his office and he's a genius and he's blah, 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 right? And then, but I'm just me. Okay. So, obviously what's true is some entrepreneurs are workaholics and some entrepreneurs are extroverts. And some entrepreneurs are all these things. But the amazing thing is that, let me see if because I don't have my presenter view, I can't always remember what comes next. Here we go. So the truth is that what makes someone an entrepreneur really, what really distinguishes entrepreneurs are these things. And, obviously there's more things, but like, I think when you said brave, self-starter, I think those are baked in sometimes because you have to have some bravery to start something for sure. And you're generally doing these things alone. So there is an amount of self-starter that's just inherent. And then Sophia, love it. Thank you. Determined, disciplined, willing to take risks. Right. Yeah, I think that's true. But I think what's wonderful to remember is that no business, well, I shouldn't say no business, but most businesses are made up of teams, right? It's not one person, literally. I mean, you could have a business of one, and in that case, you have to be all things. You're the chief cook and the bottle washer. But almost every business has at least a couple of people helping you. And what's nice is no matter what you are and what you aren't, those people can pick up the slack with the part that you aren't. But what a true entrepreneur is someone who can see a problem and think of a solution to it, who's customer or people-centric, someone who their problems are things that people experience every day and that they can relate to. Persistence, obviously, because you're going to come up with the wrong idea and then you have to keep trying. You could be an advocate, right? There's all kinds of businesses that are just about not even necessarily solving the problem yourself, but understanding how to get it solved for someone by advocating for them in ways that they're unable or afraid to do. That can be across language barriers. You can advocate. It could be across skill sets. It could be across political things and legal hurdles. Advocacy is a huge part of entrepreneurship. So there's these kinds of things are more the things to remember when you're thinking about what it takes to be an entrepreneur. You actually need to be collaborative. A lot of people think that's the opposite of what you need to be. A lot of people, you're a lone wolf, right? When you're an entrepreneur. But in fact, if you're a lone wolf, you die quickly in life. And literally speaking, lone wolves die. And metaphorically speaking, the collaborative person who's humble, who's able to say, you know, I'm great at this thing and I'm bad at that thing. For example, I, as you can tell, am not an introvert, but I don't know how to code. But I do tech companies. How? How does that possibly happen? I wouldn't know if code, I can't write a line of code. I have no idea how to check whether a developer is doing it well or poorly. If I want to build an app, I have to find someone, figure out a way to have a meaningful conversation with them, talk about their experience, vet them, and, you know, keep them motivated in order to code for me, with me sometimes, whether I'm paying them or I'm collaborating with them by saying, hey, let's partner. You know, everybody's got different skill sets, and you have to find a way to collaborate in order to proceed. But mostly, if you deeply understand human challenges and processes, you have a lot to offer, whether as an entrepreneur or as an intrapreneur. Intrapreneur? What's an intrapreneur? Anybody ever heard that word before? You know who taught me that word? Elaine. I had never heard that word until Elaine told me that word, and I love it. So an intrapreneur is a great concept, which, because it definitely exists, but I'd never heard a name put to it. It's basically an entrepreneur, but inside an organization. Now, what you'll notice is that all of the same characteristics apply. These are the same ones that I had before. You have to also be customer and people-centric, a problem solver, persistent, and an advocate and collaborative and understand challenges or processes when you're entrepreneuring inside an organization. What does that mean? So that means not everybody's going to go out and, you know, set up a new company to do a new service or product to help a pain point today or tomorrow. They might say, you know, I got this opportunity to get a job at this cool firm or business or anything that does something, you know, related to what I'm interested in, or it takes advantage of a skill set I have. Well, when you get inside an organization, if you have the same approach, attitude, and focus that an entrepreneur has, you'll have the same kind of accelerated success that an entrepreneur would enjoy, but inside the metrics of your organization. In some ways, it's trickier to be an intrapreneur than an entrepreneur, because you don't set the objectives, you don't make the final decision, and you often have to deal with superiors. Whereas in an entrepreneurial environment, the good news and the bad news is there ain't nobody but you. So that can be good, but it can be bad. But in an intrapreneur environment, what you want to first do is deeply understand the goals, the objectives of the business, and if it's a big, big business, of your department, and if it's a big, 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 big business, of your immediate manager. So then you can be all these things for their metrics. And the more that you can do all those things, I will hearken us back to that first slide where I talked about humans, right? All of these things are designed to create more money, less expense, more time, less aggravation, right? All of those things for either your customer, if you're an entrepreneur, but if you're an intrapreneur, it's for your manager or your owner. So you can have extremely fast success stories that come out of intrapreneurship, that can lead to promotion, they can lead to new kinds of job titles that are built around just you. Specifically, something to realize, and this last one, a lot of people don't realize, when I say, if you deeply understand a challenge or process, you are valuable. So that seems very general. What does that mean? A process, deeply understanding your process. So the sort of stereotype of an entrepreneur is, oh my gosh, you know, people can't get a cab without calling the cab company, and then it takes a long time and it's very expensive. Wouldn't it be cool if we could just do it on our phone? Okay, that's an entrepreneur. He saw a challenge and he had an innovative way to solve it with Uber, right? That's Kalanick, Travis Kalanick. But entrepreneur-wise, you may have a distinct skill set that you can apply, irrespective of the challenge. Meaning, you may be super organized. You may have an incredible process for baking cupcakes. It could be like literally anything, depending on where you work. But if your process is streamlined, maybe unique, or just incredibly masterful, you can apply that to other systems. And sometimes that can be revolutionary in itself. So a thing I like to do sometimes when I'm talking with other groups is I like to help people realize that they have stupid talents that are totally applicable. One for me, for example, that I love, I would say to brag about, but it's not, I can't say I brag about. It's truly stupid. But I am really good at after dinner, when there's leftovers in bowls and there's a stack of Tupperwares of different sizes, I'm uncannily good at being able to guess what will actually fit perfectly into what. That bowl of rice is going to fit into this Tupperware perfectly, and there's no space, and that one is in the bigger one, and this one in the smaller one. Okay, why am I talking about this? Why is that useful? What stupid skill do you have? It's the same skill, incidentally, as packing luggage into the car. I'm excellent at that, right? It's the Tetris of luggage into the trunk of the car. Why is that useful to be self-reflective? Because it indicates an underlying skill that you have and is a way of looking at the world. In that one, I'm analytical, I pause, I think, I'm visual, and I'm able to apply it. Now, obviously, I'm not saying I'm going to go get a job putting leftovers into the right size Tupperware. I don't think. But that is helpful for me to know about myself, that I don't just grab the first Tupperware, put the rice in, and it overflows, and then I have to pour it out and put it into a new one. I'm analytical. And so if you start to notice yourself, what are your dumb skills and what does it say about you? That's a lot to know, and it's going to develop your ability to present what you bring to any organization. This is where I would normally put everybody on the spot and tell me a stupid skill you have, but I'm going to spare Robert because he's the only brave one who's here. And I'm going to spare Don. Okay. So another thing to realize is there's a whole realm that you want to consider, which is values. You've heard the term, and we all kind of know what it means, but your values, if you're starting a business, just on their own, can really be determinative of what kind of business you have. It can make you different, just that you have cool values or interesting values or different values, right? There's tons of immoral companies doing stuff that if someone just said, I do the same thing, but morally and sustainably, they're a brand, done, just that way, right? We've seen that in tons of products, services, right? We've seen it in cocoa. We've seen it, right? That, in humane treatment, in, where we look at the supply chains of, they don't use slavery in some overseas country to make the sneakers, or sometimes it's a business model of, if you buy one, we'll donate one, right? Like Tom's, there's the socks, the bumblebee socks, or whatever they call it, millions. We're familiar with this. There's also an entire business structure called a B Corp, which is a corporation that's designed. It's a actual kind of federal setup, federal or state. Someone help me. It's an official setup that you can make your corporate structure in, where it changes the obligations of the corporation not to only be fiduciary, meaning not to only be responsible to investors for how much money it makes, but actually one of the measures it has to fulfill is how much good it does in the world, what kind of impact it has. So you could set up as that way. Even just your philosophy, and this seems basic now, but customer first, like Zappos was a big one like this maybe 15 years ago, that suddenly, there are other shoe companies, but they're just shoe companies. But then there's Zappos, and if they're like radically customer centric, where they would trip over themselves to help you. And that was their values that came through, right? Even Amazon. Amazon said, we don't care. We're not even going to wait for the post office. We're going to deliver on Sunday, right? That was revolutionary. I know it might be hard for the youngsters to remember this, but that was never possible until Amazon decided it was possible, because everybody shipped via the postal service. Similarly, so that's something to think about. What are your values in what you're doing? Does that mean something to you? And do you think that it's a weakness when it's actually maybe something that could drive your success because of your values? You might have a huge number of sympathetic customers who would choose only to work with you because of your values, because they're so concerned by the lack of the value in your competitors. Another great thing to remember is, of course, your life experience. I mean, that's something that nobody can compete with often. Specifically, if you have a certain kind of problem that you've encountered over your life, or a certain skill set you've encountered, or a certain way you've encountered life, like certainly if you've been in the military, right? You've encountered things, you have processes that are just second nature to you. You have, who knows what that brings, but it's definitely something that someone who hasn't been in the military hasn't seen. And you've probably overcome problems repeatedly that other people haven't encountered, or in ways that other people haven't encountered. And you can bring that literally to a business, like specifically the problem that you solved in the military, or you can bring a military approach to problems. It can also be just branding sometimes. There's a crazy fitness company, I think it's here in LA. Is it called like ConFit? Do you guys know this? ConGym, ConFit. It's a dude who got out of prison and he lost 75 pounds in prison in his cell. And he started a fitness company called, I want to say it's called ConFit, which is like confit, like the play on the word, but I might be getting it wrong. But the idea was, the last person we all think is like going to be a successful entrepreneur is an ex-con, right? We just have a bias against people who are formerly incarcerated. But this guy said, no, that's my strength, man. I was in a small area and I lost 75 pounds. And I'm here to tell you how to do it. And so he put it to work. That's his unique life experience. And he made a business out of it. So you can either use the exact results that you created and create it for other people, or the exact thing that you make for other people, or you have a process by which you solve problems that you can apply to other problems. And those are things that everybody has. Everybody. It doesn't matter where you grow up, what language you speak, it doesn't matter, anything. So that's exciting when you kind of start to realize that. Or it was exciting for me when I started to realize that. Oops. Okay, so here's a couple of people that I thought were cool. So Mahisha, you can tell from her picture, I think her picture is salient to the point here. Mahisha has curly hair. And she experienced, it's not like she was a hairstylist. It wasn't that she understood anything about cosmetics, except that she used them all the time and they sucked because she has this very curly hair. And she's like, this is a problem. And she also observed, obviously, what we all should have observed or could observe. There's lots of people with curly hair, right? And there are no products that specifically cater to the needs of curly hair. So she's like, well, maybe I could make one. And so she made a product specifically for her curly hair until she liked it. And then she sold it, and then she grew it and added another one and another one and another one. And Curls is a massively successful company because she just knew that her hair needed a better hair product. And so as you look around your day, there are things Like when you get out of the shower, are you saying, gosh, darn it, this hair thing, there's no good thing for my hair. Well, that could be the rest of your life work, right? It doesn't take a business degree to do the first and most important part of entrepreneurship, which is recognizing problems, your problems. And we're all human. Don't forget, every human is driven by the same motivation. So when you see a problem, more than likely someone else has it too. And if you solve it for yourself, you probably are going to solve it for a lot of people, and they're probably going to love you for it. In this case, I liked it because it also kind of had a little bit to do with her ethnicity, because the curly hair was specific to, or a lot of people who shared her ethnic background shared the same hair. And so it was a double gift to be able to solve that problem for Mahisha. A similar story, but not exactly the same, is this guy, Hector, who I think is also from LA. I'm not positive. I think he's an LA guy, Hector Saldivar. So he had this hot sauce that he loved and his mom loved and everybody liked it. And he just made more of it and more of it. And then he's like, it matters to me because it mattered to my mom about very wholesome, organic and, health conscious recipes. And so he started selling his hot sauce, but then he said, what if I also make chips and that have these same health conscious values? And he actually ended up getting invited on to Shark Tank, which is what that picture is. And he won. They invested in him. He got, I don't remember, $500,000 for this on Shark Tank. Why? Because he was selling his mother's hot sauce. So that's something, we all have recipes from our mother. I mean, I'm not saying we all have to go out and start, my mother's banana bread company or my mother's whatever company. But the point is, it's right under your nose, literally sometimes. And what matters is that if you think your mother's hot sauce is freaking amazing and your friends say it's freaking amazing, that itself is enough of a reason, more than enough of a reason, to take the next step. And I'm here to tell you about Tia Lupita, his company, because had he just called it Healthy Chips, it would not have been interesting. The reason it was interesting is because it was from his Mexican mother. That's why it was interesting. Because it has this, see the picture he had up of his mom and the brand, and that's the origin of story of the thing. That's what makes this whole business interesting. So don't forget that keeping your identity is often what makes your brand attractive and even your product attractive. And leaning into it, like Hector, is often the way that sets you apart from just health chip or potato friendly or whatever you could have called that company, right? So I thought that was important. So what I ask of each of us, and I do it sometimes too, I'm like, well, okay, what's the latest thing? Okay, what do you love? Like, and I leave it there, like not just, I don't make it more specific. What do you love? It could be a thing, it could be a product, it could be a food, it could be a kind of movie, a book, it could be a kind of person, it could be a kind of interaction among people, it could be a pastime, a sport, a game, it could be nerdy as hell, like anything. It could be fantasy books and board games, it could be like literally anything on earth. What do you love? That first answer, it might be more than one thing, right? But that's always a good place to start. If there's something you love, you probably understand it better than most people, and you certainly can passionately talk about it. So that's probably a good place to look for where you might have a business. How do you play at whatever it is that you play at? Are you rules-minded? Do you like organization? Do you have to be prepared before you start, or do you just jump in and try? If you're playing a video game, do you just go everywhere and get killed all you can, or do you like wait until you have enough strength and power before you move out? How do you go about playing in your life? That's important to understand. Do you play outside, inside? Because it'll tell you about who you are and of how you might approach things when you get into this. Make notes of this. This is important. What do you complain about? Why am I saying that? Not because I'm saying you shouldn't complain. In fact, not at all. I'm talking about the curls example. What do you complain about? She found that she complained every time she got in the shower. I can't, nothing works on my goddamn hair, right? I'm going to fix this problem. What do you complain about? Is it your car? Is it your walk to school? Is it, who knows? It could be anything. What do you just hear yourself complaining about over and over? Because I'll tell you, if you're complaining about it over and over, someone else just like you is complaining about it over and over. And would it be interesting if you could think of a solution that would stop, that would solve, let's not say stop, it would remove the need to complain about that thing? What would that be worth to you and to other people? What do you complain about all the time? That is gold. Gold. Do not stop complaining. Journal your complaints. List them. Which are your biggest complaints? Which can you charge the most for solving? And then also, what is your code, right? Your values. What is your system of belief? Are you get rich at any price, step on the throats of the small guy and win? I bet you're not. You know, but what are you? What matters more than something else, right? Are you, some people might say, you know, I'm going to get into this area where I have this complaint and I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to do it as a collective because I don't believe in hierarchy. I'm not making this up. I don't like the idea of some boss and all these other, I want everybody to work together and I want everybody to own a piece of it. That could be your code. That might be a little bit too radical for some people. Your code might just be, you know, I just always want to give back. So I only want to be in an area where I fix something for people that have no alternative, as opposed to I want to compete in potato chips, right? When it comes to whether you're going to be an entrepreneur that's for profit or not for profit, that's actually less important to the earlier question about, is this for nonprofits? The most important thing is about it could be whom do you want to help? And by whom, I don't usually mean who are the people, but I mean whose problem, what's the problem that you want to help? And then that will dictate who the people are. So when you think through all of these things, these are your compass that'll help you decide where you can dive in, how you can create a business, what that business might be focused on, whom it might help, how you might approach it with a value structure, a code. And if and when you decide that, there are support structures. But the first thing you want to know is, once you've decided on who they are there people, there are adequate numbers of people that need what you're providing? Then can you reach them? The answer is almost always yes in today's day and age, because you have so many channels online that can get to people, whether it's through influencing on social or direct mail or whatever. And sometimes it's a community thing. And so you can reach them that way. But all you need is that there are people who need what you're thinking of providing, and can you reach them? The bar is very low. And if yes, you almost certainly have a business. Once you have that in mind, something also to realize is it's not terrifying once you step out there. You actually step into a whole world of help, because there's other people who have done this work, like me, who have figured out my code is helping people. I only feel good when I'm deep involved with lots of new people, helping them get into this. That's my code. So I'm not the only one. There's thousands of people who have made this sort of life journey and learned that's where they feel they're doing their life's work, and they're here for you. And places like that are, of course, LEAF. We got the university has offices and organizations to do it. The SBDCs are here to do it. There's nonprofits that exist to do it. Government programs, grants, all kinds of things are ready for you to step in and declare yourself an entrepreneur. And they are built to just give you money, give you help, give you time, give you support, connect you to people. And while right now it looks like you're all alone, the second you declare yourself, you are anything but alone. So I encourage you to step forward and take advantage of all of those resources. It's actually super fun. Super fun. It's terrifying sometimes and it's miserable sometimes, but it's really, really an exhilarating journey. So, there we go. I'm going to unshare if I can figure out how. Stop share. So we have a couple minutes. Are there any questions from all that I can answer? And if not,
Can you share those resources? Hi, I'm Serena.
hi, Serena.
Can you share those resources that you put, or if there's
Oh,
more?
yes, that and so many more. Leaf can provide all of that and much more. That was just the kinds of resources. But
Oh,
Leaf is, Elaine's organization, in case I'm assuming you all know that because that's why we're here.
yeah.
Don is in charge of the Pasadena SBDC, which is a small business development center. If you look in the chat, Don has, I think, yeah, he put a link there for you. If you contact either of them, they'll give you a huge list of resources.
Okay, yeah, you could throw it in the chat, or if you could email. I don't know if you have the email thread, or if you could throw it in there too. Just
Of course.
makes it a lot
Definitely.
easier. I took a screenshot, but I lose my screenshots a lot.
Yeah, no problem. No, of course. That's absolutely. That's the whole point here, is to support you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great first class.
Wow. All right. I hope
Thank
so.
you.
It gets even better. I'm just telling you. You like this, you'll love what's coming next. Any other questions? Anybody feel worse about entrepreneurship now? Terrified, wants to run away, or anybody feel better about entrepreneurship? I feel better.
I was gonna say, if entrepreneurship doesn't scare you, no, I think it makes you uncomfortable. I don't think it's scary. I think it makes you uncomfortable. But that's good, right? That's how you know you're growing. So
Yeah,
that's
but the thing I'll say about that is totally, I agree, of course. But really, the thing to remember, if nothing else, is that entrepreneurship, really, remember, it's just undertaking. And what are you undertaking? You're undertaking a solution. So just be driven by that thing that you know needs to be fixed. And that's it. Whatever it takes to fix that thing, that's entrepreneurship.
Mhm. So we shared the link to, thank you, Adam. That was really great. And I think it was a great first, a really great first workshop. And as we keep talking about, all the different components, right? Because I think that's important to think about, okay, what else is coming post post this workshop, right? So this was our very first one. We always like to make that introduction to what's coming next. For those of you that know, if you signed up for this workshop, you should have access to the other ones as well. We are going to be having one next Wednesday at the same time, but it's not going to be in Zoom. It's going to actually be an in-person one. So next week, we're going to have PCC Celebrates Black Entrepreneurs, and it'll be at the Cleveland Lounge. Again, if you signed up for it, you should be signed up for the one next Wednesday, but then one next Wednesday, we're going to have lunch, and then you guys are going to get to see and meet some local entrepreneurs who have done really, really great kind of work in the community and learn, right, a little bit more about their stories and their journey. We'll have also the PCC SVDC team will be there. So if you guys want to sign up for resources, I know we can sign you up for our newsletter. Don and Annie do a really great job of sending you a monthly newsletter with all of the stuff that they have going on for the month, as well as what other partners are doing. I will be there in person. So if you guys want to chat a little bit more, that's actually a really great time. We'd love to meet you in person. And in 2 weeks, March 13, we're going to be talking about storytelling for startups. So you're going to get to meet another one of our trainers. And if this is your first one, right, we want to make sure that you come so that you can start to craft your story. So storytelling for startups in a couple of weeks. And then Wednesday, March the 20th will be the last one, which will be Jumpstart Your Money Journey. So we're going to talk about financials We know that that's always a question of like, how do I do this? And also figure out my, finances and all of that. So we're going to be doing a financial class on the 20th. So we will continue to send you. If you already got here, that means we got your email. Keep an eye out for Jackie's emails because they're the ones that are jam-packed with information and with a ton of resources. And again, if you guys are on campus next Wednesday, join us for lunch. Bring a friend, bring 2 friends. It's open to the community too. So if you guys want to bring, we've had students bring their parents, we've had students bring their spouses, we've had students bring their kids. Again, we're trying to, this is really like a whole, environment, family environment. So, make sure that you invite your classmates. Also, who doesn't love free lunch? And Jackie did a really great job of putting lunch together for next week. So, if you're around, come by next Wednesday at Cleveland Lounge. And if not, we will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Again, we'll send you more information about the other workshops. Adam, thank you so much for today's presentation. It'll be available on YouTube in a few days. So just give us a few days to get it posted. And yeah, again, shout out to Jackie at the Freeman's Career Center for always being our champion and supporting us at sending all the information out. And Dawn, who I know who had to step out. But yeah, I want to say thank you. Thank you all for joining us. This was great.
All right. Thank
See
you
you guys
guys.
next time.
I hope I'll see you again here.
Thank you guys for having us. Have a wonderful day.
You
Thanks,
too.
Elise.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz.